Hey, how you doing? Hello? The meeting will be short, starting in a minute.
This meeting is being recorded.
Okay, good evening. This is the regular meeting of the Board of Apportionment and Taxation. Today's date is Tuesday, April 16th, 2024. I would like to call this meeting to order at 6:07 p.m. Can we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Can we get a roll call, please? Present. Present. Right.
Present.
Present. Thank you. Miss Mancini, right?
Present. Present.
Pirelli Silcock,
Present.
Dell. Mr. Rivera,
Present.
Senator Derby,
Present.
Simon,
Present.
Swagno. Swagno. Eight members present.
Thank you. Item number 4, additions, deletions, corrections. I believe there are none. Item 5, public portion. Does anybody from the public wish to speak? Does anybody from the public wish to speak?
Hello,
Good
Sarah
evening.
Radomski, 95 Taxation Hill, President of the Board of Aldermen and Alderwomen. I would like to thank the members of the board for all the work you've done during this budget season. In addition, many thanks to the mayor, finance director, chief of staff, town clerk, and all other staff who assisted in compiling all the information necessary for the board to work through the numbers. I would also like to say that I have appreciated everyone's attitude and professionalism in these budget meetings. The tone and manner in which these meetings have taken place has been a breath of fresh air. I would like to state, as president of the Board of Aldermen and Alderwomen, that our unanimous vote to allocate the remaining $2.5 million of ARPA monies to the general fund is something we were not expecting, and certainly something we wish we didn't have to do. However, that decision was made because it was the best course to take in order to ensure that the general fund balance wasn't heavily depleted, and thus the best option to take for the citizens of Derby. As we jump over the previous administration's financial mismanagement hurdles that were put in our way and are presented real numbers in real time, I have no doubt that better days are ahead. I know that the decisions you make are not easy and not taken lightly. Once again, I appreciated all the time you've spent as a volunteer board in the city of Derby for your service to the community, and I look forward to working with you all in the coming year. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Hello?
Thank you very much. Does anybody else from the public wish to speak?
Yes, I'm here remotely.
Okay,
Hello?
go ahead.
Oh, hi, this is Jim Gilday from 11 Academy Hill Road in Derby. I will just say this before I start my comments, that I don't know if I'm the only one, but here remotely, we cannot see, or at least I cannot see the room. there. So I can see our elegant town clerk's picture under the speaker view, but we are at least I am unable to see the whole room. And I just wanted to mention that before I begin my comments.
That's correct. We're having a problem with the system, so
Oh, okay.
that's why you're suffering through what you have to look at.
No, I didn't know that. But listen, as you guys may know, I'm able to talk regardless of what obstacles we have in front of us. So my name is Jim Gilday. I'm president or chairman of the Board of Education, and I did want to just extend a thank you as well to the tax board this year, and certainly to the mayor's office and the finance office. As chairman of the Board of Education, we have received pretty much zero funding for the last 6 years. And it has been devastating for our school system. I know that each one of you, like me, will feel the effects of the budget, but I will also tell you that for too long, we have not funded critical services, and we have not funded areas in our city appropriately. So again, tough work that you guys did on behalf of the Board of Education. The allocation will be put to good use. We will continue to try to do our best to move the school system forward. You all had a tough job, and I appreciate your service to the city of Derby. Thank you very much for all the work. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anybody else from the public wish to speak? Right. You could, yeah, no, you're welcome to.
Gino DiGiovanni, 77 Main Street. Madam Chair, members of the board, I just want to say that I was away the last couple of weeks on vacation, so I'm kind of late to the party here a little bit. But when I got back on Sunday, I came back and I had 4 or 5 people call me about to ask questions about the budget and the process, and I really didn't know where you guys were due to me being away. But as I went back, I listened to the meetings, read through the articles that were published through the Valley Independent, and started to go through like the packet that was on there. And I have a few questions that maybe they'll come up tonight, but from what I looked at through here, the 23-24 original budget was 47,890,000 and change. The budget that's proposed for 24-25 is 53 million and change, which is an increase of 5.2, roughly almost 5.3 million. Now, when I did it out, that comes to 11.06% increase in spending. Now, I know that through our financial difficulties from one administration to the other, and I understand all that, but when I started looking through it, and I know we haven't had a financial advisor here or finance director over the last few years. I was part of the Board of Aldermen, so I know the troubles that we're in the Hartwell. But for 11% increase, I just couldn't find in any of the articles or the documentation whereabouts, like what were the concessions for the city. And I know I read that the Board of Ed proposed, I don't know what the numbers were, but then you guys negotiated, so I guess they came down. But I was just wondering if maybe you guys tonight, I don't know how you have your meeting plan, but do you go line item by line item through and pass it, or what is the next process? Just so that myself and anybody that's watching or here can understand how it gets approved. Because obviously in the last 2 years, we really didn't, wasn't a good criteria that was followed. And so I'm being new to it myself. I was under the understanding that it goes line item by line on them. You approve it or don't approve it, and you hash it out or go through. So is that what's going to happen tonight, or how does that work?
So back on April 3rd, we did go line item by line item. Each department was identified, addressed, questions were asked with respect to specific departments. And following that, we adopted the budget on that night. At that time, we set a budget hearing that was scheduled for last week. And we correctly notified the public. It was in all the newspapers, it was on public, letting people know this is your opportunity. We adopted the preliminary, please weigh in. Last week, we had nobody that raised any questions or issues. There's been a long, this team, as well as the mayor, definitely Brian. It's been a lot of work working with the departments, department heads, trying to modify the original budget asks, making sure that to the best of our ability, we were able to improve city services, something that hasn't been done in a long period of time. So tonight, again, there is a section for public portion, but it is our anticipation that, barring any significant outcry, that there would be adoption of the budget.
Okay, fair enough. Just a few other things, really quick is, reading through the documentation, it states that, there's, with the new mill rate increase, there'll be 11.9% increase. And then also that, due to the motor vehicle cap, we're already maxed out at that, and I think that's 38 point something mils. So even though the mill rate's going to be 43.2, we're only going to be able to get whatever the state cap is for motor vehicle taxes. So we're already maxed out on that, and now we're going to a 4.6% increase. And then Thursday night's meeting at the Board of Aldermen, it was the public was informed that the state, and correct me if I'm wrong, but the state moved up the reevaluation for the property assessments as well. Did the board know about that as you guys were working on the budget? Even though we're a year behind on the the grand list, they'll be due in October, and then this time next year, those assessments we all know are going to be a lot higher. The way the market is going with the houses and whatnot. Was that taken into consideration when you guys worked through the budget? Is there anything that you guys could adjust now that that, the assessment will be coming up a year earlier? Maybe that's something that we could, work on. The reason why I'm asking is because if your house's value or assessment is 100,000, we all know the last 4 years, the housing market has gone crazy. So your house at $100,000 assessed is going to be 200. And we're just talking, not real numbers. So therefore, if I'm paying 5,000 this year, and I'm going to have an increase next year, is going to be 10,000 if the mill rate stays the same. So I was just wondering if the board was aware that the assessment and the revaluation is going to be, coming a year earlier. Is my question.
Madam Chair. As you know, if you could refer, Mr. Chair, in the assessor's budget, you did include money for the revaluation for next year. And for those who have not been through a revaluation process, when the revaluation goes, is implemented, the grand list moves, it goes up. And then correspondingly, then the mill rate would have to be adjusted based on the amount of spending. Typically, it goes down to adjust if the spending stayed the same. Then, but you did contemplate that when you talked about your in the assessor's budget. There's money in there for the revaluation.
Correct. And I would also say that, this board acted on the information we have at the time. That's our job. So next year, if it does come to pass, after the adjustment based on, the property reevaluation, that's something that the next board, or maybe even us, will be doing it next year. And definitely, at that point, we'll be operating on the information we have at that time. But for, respectively,
The reason why I asked that was because I wasn't aware of it until I listened to the meeting, number one. But number two, if we could button our belt buckle a little bit, take the burden off the taxpayers a little bit for this year, knowing that a reval year is coming and that the way the housing market is, and it's a lot of assumptions. My thought was if you didn't know about the reval, maybe you guys could relook at it and maybe there could be, well, reval is coming. We know it's going to take effect next year. So instead of trying to hit a home run today, let's maybe get a base hit so that we could get some base runners. You know what I'm trying to say?
I do,
So
but
that's why I was
we
just
did know
asking that.
about
I
it,
didn't
so
know.
Wait, can I just say something?
no worries.
I know slightly, but not everything that he said. So, what he's saying, I just have a question. Like, if we approve this, right, is the taxpayer going to have to pay more? You know what I mean? When it gets,
The revaluation is gonna have zero impact on 24-25 budget season. That any changes that would happen would be part of the 25-26 budget cycle.
so it might,
It
so the
wouldn't be
taxes
relevant.
might, so if we do taxes now, right, and everything goes up, is it possible next year it's gonna go up again on the people?
So
The taxpayer?
to Mark's point, what happens is when you're doing the 25-26 budget,
Mhm.
after you got the new grand list rates, which likely will go up, to everyone's point, the mill rate gets adjusted down to try to balance it so that, you know, the taxes wouldn't change.
So that was the reason for my question. And Brian, too, congratulations on your.
Yes, he's been phenomenal.
Good luck.
Yeah, I think when this does happen, there will be probably a little bit of education for everyone around, okay, if this side went up, so the mill rate's gotta come down, and where's the netting out?
But effectively, we would be operating based on, you know, the unknowns, right? And it's not going to affect this. So while I can appreciate,
No,
you know,
I understand that
consideration.
completely, and it was just a question.
Okay.
The only thing that I would, like, the board and as well, Madam Chair, is that, with 11% increase in spending, I mean, we all know that times are tough. And I'm not saying that, anything negative, and your job is hard enough, and I understand the time that you guys put into it, just from going through it
Thank you.
in the past. And, with all due respect, I appreciate your time, because it's not easy. The only thing that I just don't want to see in the long run is a lot of people are trying to get a second job and trying to do this and trying to do that. And with the increases that are coming, we just don't want everybody to fly the coop. And, especially with the new apartment buildings and whatnot that are coming, if they can't rent those because the rents have to be so high, that's going to affect everyone. So I would hope maybe that, you guys can take a look at it and see if we could tighten our belt buckle in some certain spots that, there might be some room, but, if we could curtail our spending and bring it down even 1% or 2, that would be great. And I think the taxpayers would appreciate that as well.
So I don't want to cut you up, but I totally agree with you. Like, that's how I came in, like, no way can we go up 4.6. I can't do it. I'm gonna have 2 kids in college. I have spent hours literally poring over this budget. I used to do budgets for the YMCA, $1 million budgets, so I'm not, this isn't new to me. I was like, okay, Board of Ed took a cut. They negotiated. How about the other ones? Literally, I have looked and looked and looked. And realistically, there's nowhere. We're literally, because that's what I said. We're gonna have a nice downtown with nobody to live here. So I hear you completely, but I was trying to find anywhere I could. And I mean, just the amount wasn't enough to be like, okay, let's, get rid of that. It was never gonna amount to what we need.
Right. Okay, well, my question is, I just didn't see it listed anywhere or explained maybe through comment or whatnot, but what were, maybe you guys could answer it in your presentation, but what were the concessions that the city, with the increase that we have, it seems like, and this is my opinion, and I'm not saying it negatively, but it looks like the burden is on the taxpayer. And that might not be true, and I don't know. Like I said, I'm getting here a little bit late and I apologize for that, but it looks like that there was some shortfalls, a lot of shortfalls here and there. We had to plug these holes, right? And for us to get balanced, if you will, we had to increase, and the increase went to the taxpayer. And to me, in my opinion, with what I could see, that's why I'm asking the question. It doesn't look like the city as a body, the city is what I mean, did any concession. And what I mean by that is, let's say that we had to raise the mill rate five mils. Well, the taxpayer takes 2.5 mils and the city itself takes 2.5 mils. I'm not saying that that's possible. I'm just using that as an example. So that would be my last question. What concessions did the city make? If any, I don't know. I'm just asking that. I know that there was a comment that they took 500,000 from the pension plan and used it, which I did see that. But then in this new budget, or the budget that you guys are going to vote on, the 500,000 was put back plus another 500. So that looked like it was, yes, used like as a loan, but it really wasn't a concession. And once again, this is just the stuff that I'm, picking up. I'm not a financial expert by no means, so could be wrong. I don't know. So that was one of the things that I did see, but other than that, I don't know if there was any other. And that's all I have. I would hope that, we could look at this and maybe cut the spending as much as possible, or now that we know that we have a reval coming, maybe we could do a little bit more with less until we get to the next budget cycle to help, defray the burden on the taxpayer, because I just think that this is going to be way too much for a little town to handle in a short period of time. And with that, I yield. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, if I just may clarify process for the new people. And so the public portion and is essentially a continuation of the public hearing from last week, which is pursuant to the charter and so forth. So this is time for people to be heard on this. So typically it would be the time to say, if you have areas that you want to cut, then you should offer them up. If you're saying you're saying to cut. If somebody wants to add money, they can say there should be more funding for X or Y. So if you have specific cuts that they should consider, this would be the right time to do that. And for anybody else from the public who this might be their first time to speak on these things, this would be the time to say, hey, because the board also, thankfully that these 10 volunteers have put their time in to put their names up to be representatives of all of us on this board. And it's an agonizing, painful discussion over these last basically 2-3 months that they've been working on this. So, and this is why the charter is in place to encourage and that's why there's a specific preliminary budget that was adopted, so it's not a moving target. So the public, I'm speaking, but everybody who's listening and everybody's here, the whole public has a chance to know exactly what is being contemplated, so that you can make intelligent choice to say, this is what I think you should cut. So if you have cuts,
Right.
That's where the input would be.
And also, according to the charter, until the last charter revision, the mayor really didn't have a say in what the budget was going to be. Now that the charter revision was made, and since 2021 it went into effect, maybe now the mayor has a recommendation to the board. But, years and years past, everybody blamed a certain person, but it technically is the tax board's responsibility, which are elected by the people, to pass and adopt a budget. So, when, push comes to shove, the mayor doesn't have anything to do with the budget. And it's according to the charter. He has a recommendation, but it's a sole purpose by charter of the tax board.
And respectfully, though, that's not different. That authority to adopt the budget has been with the tax board since the first charter was adopted.
Correct.
In 19.
The only thing that changed, correct me if I'm wrong, is that the mayor now has
had
to
to make
give
a
a recommendation.
Yes.
Years ago it was not.
Right. And from the budget from last year, in the last 2 years, because you were part of that,
Mhm.
that many of the numbers were just fictitious numbers.
Correct.
In this case, they grappled with all of that stuff, and they're trying to deal with that. So again, it's the part of the public portion is to give the board guidance. And if it's or to cut or to add, this is the time to say, if you want to cut something, tell me if you want to cut.
Okay, well, listen, like I said, I don't have, I haven't been privy to what the body has done, but in the first, 120 days, did we call all the department heads and say who works for us? How much do they get paid? What is their job duty? I mean, are there ways that we could do more with less? We
If I
have the
could-
state of Connecticut, in fact, guiding us through this process. I mean, I also read that $30,000 for an audit. Well, there's 12,000 of us here in town. I'll pay the $3 each resident to get an audit done, so that we can go back to 6 years, find out, or 10 years, or whatever the thing is, to find out where we stand, because every 2 years, 4 years, 6 years, it's kicked the can down the road. I blame you, you blame me, and we're always back at the same table in the same seats. And we're not the ones to blame ever, but we're the ones to pay every single time. And I'm not saying that as in, you guys as a whole. I'm saying that in a general sense. We've all lived here all our lives. We know how it goes. Everybody blames everybody else. No one's responsible. And us, the taxpayers, are the ones that pick it up every single time. All I know is that this time, and Mark will tell us if I'm wrong, I don't know, but this increase to me seems like it's a lot more than years past. I could be wrong, but maybe it's the way that it is, and money's tight now with groceries, inflation. I mean, it's just a perfect storm. And that's why I was just asking, what concessions did we already make and where were they? And is there anything else we can do? We all know that we're going to have to sacrifice. And I'm not asking for the city to pick up half the tab or all the tab. But from what I read and where I see and where I stand right now, it looks like that, yes, you guys plugged all the holes, you got a balanced budget, or, what have you. And 100% of that burden is coming on us as the taxpayer. I don't know if that's true or if it's not true, but where we got from A to where we are B right now, it just feels like it's all being put on the taxpayer. And from the last budget that got passed to this proposed budget is 11.06 in spending increase.
Well,
That's a lot of money.
and the point is, there's some of the people who are new, but the whole last budget, the previous budget, was based on a bunch of lies.
I know that, Mark.
No, I'm just saying. it was
I
a bunch of-
understand.
No, I'm just, in the finance.
I know, but we can't kick the can.
No, and they're not though.
And if I could just respond, because we've been at it since February. We instituted weekly meetings. The public has been made aware of them. They've been broadcast,
I'm not
on city
saying
forums.
anything negative
If I
about
could
it,
just
Matt.
have a minute, because I didn't interrupt
No,
you.
you're right.
So each and every week, we've been meeting, we've been going through the budgets, we've been asking Brian for more information, we've been reaching out to department heads week after week after week. So when we've already done our due diligence, we hold a public hearing, that was last week, and I do appreciate and respect, everybody has a right to vacation, but this board has been in it for the last 2 months. And I do think, and I took a little bit of offense to think that we just jumped to, hey, let's raise taxes 4.6%, 4.6 mils. That was not the case.
But that's
We
not what I'm
looked,
implying, and I said that, I think, more than
Okay.
once or twice. I'm not
We-
faulting anybody here. We know how we got here.
we did look
It's where
through
we go from
everything.
there.
A couple things I just want to make sure you are aware of is that we are using real numbers, but by using that, by actually having a finance director, we're totally aware that this current year's budget was underfunded for employee health benefits to the tune of more than $1.5 million. We also have another $750,000 for the mishandling and lapsing of trash recycling contract. So we're starting off in a hole for this year. That doesn't even get us to the next year.
I
So we're
understand.
scrapping with all of those. So I guess my last comment would be just to follow up. And again, I do respect you and what you've brought to the community and to this forum. Is there a specific department that you would say, you know what, please take another look at this? Because we would want to hear that.
So in the 23-24 budget, it was budgeted $175,000 for
We-
police outside work. And that's a contractor paying the police for their service, whatnot. The city, according to fiscal year estimated 23-24, brought in $1.140 million of what it says that it's here. You brought in 1.140 million dollars, and the budget was only 175,000. So that is $1 million that we got for revenue that wasn't budgeted. You know,
Expense went up by $1 million.
well, because of a different line item, but I'm just saying that there are things that come in
We've-
and go out. In municipal finance, from my understanding, is a lot different from business and from our own personal uses. We want to be personal. We want to collect and make as much money, spend the least amount so that we have a nest egg. Municipal finance, what you bring in must go out and services rendered. Okay, plus your 6 or 8% or whatever it is for your rainy day fund that the state allocates or whatnot. So whatever we bring in goes out in services rendered for the taxpayers.
But
So
you also have to think on that outside police wages. Brian found where we were putting a lot more money out for stuff that wasn't coming in. So there's still benefits that.
oh,
had to
that's
be
not saying that, oh, we picked up $1 million, we're all good. I'm not
paid.
saying
No,
that.
I mean,
Well,
we were paying things out of that we weren't collecting back. So there's benefits that had to be paid to the police. Their pensions and things like that. Oh, sorry. Their pensions and things like that we were putting it out of the city. It was never running through the police fund. And
Is that-
Brian could probably explain that. to
Are
you
there any
better.
other specific departments as far as the funding? I mean, specific departments for funding that you are representing should be reconsidered for possible cuts.
Well, to be honest with you, Madam Chair, I didn't go through the
All right.
line item by line item like that, but I did see just in, thumbing through it a little bit from what I could understand, is that there was, so I don't know how this really works too much with the new financial software to the old one, but like the line items for a department, are these all just from the current stuff, or is this kind of, the numbers are back and forth, or? I don't know, like you have, line item 412, and then it goes to 5610, it's like, 3 numbers and then 4 numbers, but anyway.
The department's the 4 number, and then the 5 number one is kind of like the.
Got it, okay, got it.
That's within the department.
Fair. And like I said, I'm not really, but just for instance, so when I look at the public work,
You have the historicals on the one that was,
I have
April
whatever that was on the website for April 3rd.
yeah.
Is
So
that
there's,
current?
yeah, that's the one they're working from, and there's also historical data go back 3 years on.
Yes, 22,
So it's all-
23, right?
Right.
Right, I got you. So, okay, fair enough. So at least I'm on the right page. But if you guys, like I said, I would have been more prepared. I didn't. But we go to page. Here it is right here. So page 8. And this is the public works budget, I think. Highway Department, line item 4303 and down. Then you got the regular 51610. So I'm believing that that's public works. Now, inside that, you also have WPTA. So is that all lumped together in one department?
WPTA separate budget, they have their own.
Is that just like the,
They're doing next.
is that like the, Board of Ed?
No, the board that's included in here.
Gotcha, so they're both separate.
Separate entities.
Okay. So, just for instance, listen, I know that we haven't had a street sweeper in at least 3 or 4 years. So in the 22-23 year, there was $3,500 budgeted for it. And then in the, let me just make sure my.
It's 22-23.
Okay, right. And then what's the next column? That 23-24, that's the original budget, right? That was passed. So you have 10,000. Then the 23-24 is the next column, which is estimated of what we spent so far. Or what we're going to spend. Excuse me?
What we would spend.
What we would spend for the full year. Okay. And then there's no column to say that out of the 10,000, we spent $5,000 of it on this sheet, right? Or what we have currently.
Right. It's not.
Okay, so we, in the 22-23 year, that was unaudited, it says we budgeted $3,564. Then 23-24 was $10,000, and then we will spend $10,000 this year. And then the 24-25 budget is $10,000, and then the preliminary budget of 24-25 is $10,000. So we don't have a street sweeper.
But we still need one. We just take it from Ansonia or for Shelton. We still have the street swept. We don't own our own.
I understand that, but my instance for that is we wouldn't even be able to go and hire a subcontractor. Ansonia don't even let us use the street sweeper anymore. The west side of town hasn't been swept in God knows how many years. We all know that. And I'm not throwing stones. I'm just saying. So that line item is $10,000 right there. You know, and this is just one thing, because I know public works, and that's what I could see from just looking at it. But there's other line items where we could move a little bit and do a little bit, and that'll help a little bit here and a little bit there. But, you know,
Are you asking them to cut it or add to it? I'm confused.
I'm just asking them to look at it, Mark. That's all I'm asking for.
Okay.
If
You don't
that's
think-
too much, I'm sorry, but
Yeah, but you
I'm
don't
just,
think at this
but it
point
really
we
what
have
I'm saying,
I
I'm
mean,
sorry.
are you really thinking that we haven't looked at it?
That was my point that I was trying to ask before, is the city as a whole made what concessions? We did this, we got that, we got 3% from this department. Where is that stated, if any? And then that would be my question. Well, the city, the board got 10% in all departments to give back and, you know, gave concessions on their budget. And now the rest is coming out to the taxpayer. But I just didn't see that, you know, anywhere that happened. Maybe it happened, maybe it didn't. That was my question. My fear is that I don't know if I'm gonna be able to pay it. And if I can't do it, I don't know if a lot of people on the east side of town that pay a lot more than my little house and my little piece of front yard on the west side of town are gonna be able to do it. So my question is, and it was answered, and I'll accept that the board, the city, made as many concessions as they possibly could, and that there's no more room to move anywhere, and what we're seeing is what we get, and that is fine. I'm just glad that you guys took the time to answer my questions. That's all. And I appreciate it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Does anybody else from the public wish to speak?
My name's Mark Anthony, is a former alderman with him, so I thank you for your service. I know what it's like. You can't please everybody. So I was going to talk, but the reason why I'm here today is I actually saw a posting. What did I do it? 328 Olivia. I got that COVID-5 thing. I wasn't gonna talk today, but I did see the posting online, so that's why I'm here. And I actually shared it so people can see it.
Thank you.
The reason why I'm speaking now is it was different when we were aldermen. We had many more sources, I think, with the local newspapers. We had weekly and daily. And now we have the internet. But we need to find a way to inform the public. Because I thought this place would be packed, because I saw complaints on the internet about what the race in the They're right there. So there needs to be a way that we can inform the public, to participate more because, many hands make light work. There may have been people from the public that could offer suggestions themselves. So again, I'm not speaking in favor or against the budget. My thing is I like to inform people. If anybody's friends with me online, you'll see I share a lot of things because I know a lot of people don't see it.
Sure.
So I like to make sure they're at least aware of it. If they come, they come. They don't, they don't. I'm not a big Zoom guy, so I don't do the Zoom thing. I'd rather come in public to see who I'm talking to, and I want them to see who I am. And I, quite frankly, I won't complain unless I have a alternate suggestion. All right, so you can guarantee that for me. But however we do it, we need to find a better way to inform the public. Whether it's when we get the yearly bills, if there's something in there with all the, because you decide your meeting schedule at the beginning of the year, right? When you turn. From what I understand, does it change every year that I meet?
I mean, technically it's re-upped every year, but in general, people keep.
Right, because I used to come to every meeting, no matter what it is. As a matter of fact, I had one member of the board question who I was showing up to the meetings because they didn't have anybody show up. And they wanted my name to put into the minutes because again, they didn't have anybody show up. That's all I want to say is however we do it, whether it's internet, whether it's a one-time mailing, or we have this code red thing, if there's a way that people register, that for any upcoming meetings so they can be aware and participate.
I have a question for you.
For me?
Yeah. So, so when you said, online, you heard a lot of people talking negatively about. What were they saying in regards to the budget?
Well, I'm not gonna quote somebody else.
No,
It's on your-
were they?
I'll tell you where to go to find me.
No. So I don't want to hear like the dirt. I just wanted to hear like what they were actually saying, in substance to what we're doing.
I think
Were
they're
they-
expressing the same thing that Gino expressed, that they're gonna have a difficult time painting. I have a difficult time myself, so I know what it's like.
Okay.
Again, I'm not.
No,
speaking in
that's
favor-
that's actually what I wanted.
Right, not speaking in favor against the budget, because I know you guys work hard at doing it, and but this was the first one that I heard of, because I saw today's posting. I thought maybe I would have come to previous meetings. I probably wouldn't have offered any, input, but at least I would have come if I'm available. Because I have issues too where I can't make it a lot of meetings anymore. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Does anybody from the public wish to speak?
I actually, I'm also on the same stuff that
I'm sorry, can you just repeat it again, louder, slower?
Dan Bladen. I'm on a lot of the same stuff on Facebook that Mark is, and to kind of summarize what he's talking about, no one's happy that their taxes are going up at all in Derby for the conditions they've lived in Derby in the past, any number of years. I have not looked anywhere near in depth as anybody else who's spoken tonight at this specific budget. I have paid taxes in Derby for the last 9 years, 8 at a different address, and this will be my first year at this address, and I can say that. Excuse how this is going to come off. Figure out where to cut it. Take 2%, 3%, 4% from everybody across the board. Don't raise it a single percent. I understand that might not be feasible because of inflation, because of this, because of that. We don't have fire trucks. We don't have street sweepers. We don't have, public works trucks. We don't have gas pumps at our own public works. We have to go to other places until we get kicked out and then go to other places like we did with Ansonia with their street sweeper and their fuel. Derby's kind of an embarrassment. And I think a lot of people online, again, I'm not going to name anybody specifically, but from what I have seen and how I personally feel, things are out of control, and to tell everybody that their taxes are going to go up, potentially a couple $1,000s, without just basically telling them this is what it costs for things to stay the same. I think that's the, attitude you'll find if you go on like the community forum, stuff like that. And with that, I'll yield.
Thank you. Does anybody from the public wish to speak?
Mayor DiMartino. So first, we're not kicking the can. We're putting a stop to it. We have real numbers. We have a real finance director. We have people that know what they're doing. And these numbers are correct. We don't have the past administration making false numbers, fake numbers, and trying to do things they shouldn't be doing. Brian is very capable of his job. I'm so excited that he's on board now and he's our finance director. So to say we're kicking the can, that would mean let's underfund the budget again another 2 million. And next year we'll take it out of the general fund and have the state come over and take us over. We're not doing that. We're putting a solid budget together. The numbers are real. I don't want to go up 4.6 mils either. I have to pay that too. We all have to pay it. But to get it to stop, this is what we need to do. I thank you for all that you've done last couple of months. It's not easy. You're a volunteer board. You're here sacrificing your time. I know you ran for this spot just like I did, but we're here to make Derby the best it could be. We don't want Derby to be an embarrassment. We want Derby to be a place where people want to come and be proud that they're from Derby. Because I've been proud I've been from Derby my whole life. I guess that's it for now, but hey, thank you for all your work. I really appreciate it. Brian, thank you for everything you've done putting this budget together with me. And the other thing I will say is that we sat down with every department head, Brian and myself, and we went through their budgets. We cut. They wanted more. We told them you can't get it. We have to cut you back. So we did our due diligence with every department head, right in this room, right on that TV. So we did our work. And I'm sorry that's going up 4.6 mils, if that's what you vote on, but it's something that must be done. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Does anybody from the public wish to speak?
Good evening, Rob Hyder, 51 Franklin Avenue. I'm a third ward alderman. I just want to thank you, each of these board members for, I know the hours that you put in and the work that you put in. I'd like to thank Mayor DiMartino, and Finance Director Brian Hall. And this is not an easy task. Again, I know the hours that each of you have dedicated to this monumental task, and dealing with the fictitious numbers from the last few years has made your difficult job even that much more difficult this year. I'm grateful for the fact that we're finally dealing with real numbers, but it's at a very steep cost as a result of the previous financial mismanagement over the past several years. The concessions that the city did give in previous budgets include underfunding pensions, underfunding our children's education, and using our fund balance as a piggy bank. It's why we're in the situation that we are today. And to add to what Ms. Wodomski had said earlier, the decision to allocate the 2.5 million of ARPA funds was not ideal, but it's something that we had to do to keep the mill rate from going to potentially 10 or 11 mills. We're at 4.6. Thank God we're at 4.6 and not 11. It was the potential for a one-time tax this summer to get us out of the hole, increase the rate, the mill rate to 11 by 11 points, or use the ARPA funds. Now, unfortunately, we can't use those ARPA funds for capital improvements elsewhere in the city. But again, those are the cards we were dealt and the cards that you were dealt. And I commend you for the work that you've done, and I thank you for the work that you've done. And while that decision has saved Derby taxpayers from an even bigger increase, we can no longer rely on those ARPA funds. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. Does anybody from the public wish to speak? Anybody else from the? Hi.
My name is Tara Hyder, 51 Franklin Avenue. Sorry, I'm going to refer to my notes. First, I want to thank you for your time volunteering. I understand what it's like to volunteer on a board, and I know the time that you put into this, and I'm grateful for all that you've done. You've been tasked with cleaning up a mess that you were left from a previous budget, and that is no easy task. Thank you to Mayor DiMartino and Brian Hall for their transparency and honesty throughout this process. It's been a breath of fresh air. And I'm grateful for that as well. I haven't been as vocal this past budget season as I usually am. I'm usually present and vocal, but it's for a good reason. Typically I'm speaking at these meetings the past few years, begging and pleading for the tax board to support departments and to please properly fund departments. But as I've been listening to the meetings online, I know the conversations you've had and I know the topics you've discussed, and I know that it has been your intention to properly fund departments that haven't been properly funded in years past, while also trying to be fiscally responsible to the taxpayers. And that is quite a burden. And I appreciate that you've properly funded departments that have been neglected the past couple of years. I support this budget, and thank you for funding the education budget. As a previous member of the Board of Education, it was really hard the past couple of years having either flatlined budgets or minimal increases that were almost embarrassing that they were called increases. But I'm grateful that you've done your due diligence in terms of funding departments, but at the same time trying to keep in mind the taxpayers. We have to dig out of a hole, and I know that. And right now we're going to feel it, but it's just what we have to do, and I understand that. I'm proud of your work. I support this budget, and I'm proud to be from Derby.
Thank you very much. Does anybody else from the public wish to speak? Anybody from the public wish to speak? Third and final, does anybody from the public wish to speak? Public portion will now be closed. Item number 6. Discussion, possible action on the adjustments to the preliminary budget that was presented on April 3rd. I don't have anything. Brian, do you? Okay.
I just have a question. I'm sorry, I have a question for you. Because you said that the school wasn't funded, or was it funded? Because I remember I was on the board last year, and then we gave money to the school.
It was 2 years ago. If I'm not mistaken, it was flat funded, and last year I think there was a minimal increase of 1.41%. I'm not sure of the exact percentage. If I'm not mistaken, it was maybe $100 and something thousand, which in a $19 million budget is okay. It doesn't do much. So no disrespect to last year's work.
Oh no,
But
no, I just wanted to make sure.
Budget, it's not much. Yeah, if you look historically at the education budget, the past 4 to 6 years, it's just it's side. You're welcome.
Thank you. So I do want to just, again, I know I've stated it a couple of times over the last several meetings, but I do want to, again, reflect the work that was done by this team, the work that was done by Mayor Joe DiMartino, the work that was done by Brian Hall. Certainly, we all came to a place that nobody wanted to be in. But the reality was we were looking at an operating deficit this year. We had departments that have come before us, each presenting that the money that was allocated in each of the last several years just didn't do enough effectively to continue to maintain operation throughout this city. This year, we are left with not only, close to a $3 million deficit based on lack of financial stability, by the last administration, but we also have to move the city forward. I truly believe that the time, effort, and energy that was put forth in this budget was significant. We're all feeling the effects of this budget. We're all taxpayers in Derby. We all do truly understand what the impact is going to be.
And you and I are single women.
We're single women, yes.
Supporting a house.
And I truly believe too, no one wants this. Definitely it was helpful, when I sat down to really look at the numbers to try to calculate out what the actual impact was going to be. So I would ask that everybody in the city of Derby does the same thing, because I know the 4.6 sounds like a scary number. While no one wants any increase, I totally get that. It certainly wasn't as scary as I anticipated it would be when I originally heard that number. But I do think that this is what we need to get out of the hole. In talking with this team that has put in significant hours, has questioned department heads, has looked at all the line items. I do think it's where we need to go in order to get out of state oversight and be in a better place to move forward. Having said that, I would move to item number 7. And I would ask.
Madam Chair.
Yes,
Madam Chair, can I make a couple of comments? This is Mike Gray.
sure.
Are you able to hear me?
Yes,
I apologize for not being there in person. I'm sitting in my car right now, actually. But I just want to say a couple of things. First, I wanted to congratulate you on doing a great job as a new member of the board, but also being our leader as chairperson. So thank you so much for all of your work. I do want to thank Brian. I've been on this board. I believe this is my fifth year on the board. We've never had the information going into a budget that we've had this year to be able to make decisions with sound information, transparent information, the background for the information, and even historical information going back a few years. Brian certainly knows his way around financial documents, and I appreciate all the work that he's done. Just so people know too, I don't know that maybe this might not be out there, but apparently if these things are being said on Facebook, we have gone through the budget. That's been said over and over again. We've done our due diligence. A lot of what's in the budget is contractual. There's very little fluff in this budget. Most of it is contractual. If you go department by department, their increases are basically contractual increases. The other thing to know is we've racked our heads, just like Tina said earlier. She's racked her brain trying to figure out where we could cut more. Yeah, we can cut 1,000 here. We can cut 10,000 here, but there are very few places. A 1 mil reduction is $800,000. To go back to what you said earlier, Colleen, we were 3 million in the hole at the start. No one wants to pay this. I'm disappointed that we have to do this. For being a member on this board the past 4 years, and now we're in this situation, I'm embarrassed. But I have to say, I'm really disappointed at the fact that the numbers we were working from weren't even actual numbers. And to find that out now makes me a little more disappointed in the whole process that we've done in the last however many years I've been on the board. Not only do you have 800,000 to reduce it by 1 mil, we did talk about the possibility of reevaluation coming up. We talked about that several times, and that it could be a double whammy. Brian has so eloquently spoken in the past about we can always balance and reduce the mill when we get to that point. So it might not be as big of a hit as this year. It might be a hit, but it might not be as big. Here's the thing, and I think everybody again has said this tonight. Mark Anthony, I think it's Mark Anthony Izzo who said this, that he likes to be in person. He likes to see people he's talking to. He likes to know who's speaking. And again, I apologize for not being there in person tonight. I agree with him wholeheartedly. And we're disappointed again. If all these people are on Facebook and they're saying these things, this is an open forum for those people to come and talk to us while we're formulating the budget beginning back in February. And again, to Mark Anthony's point, Maybe it's not out there enough, but if it's not out there enough, how are they able to go on Facebook and speak to it? So I'm a little confused by that. And I don't mean to sound bitter, but here we are, we've gotten to this point, and the amount of work that people have put in, and we're being asked if we've done our due diligence. And I don't know that we specifically have been asked if we've done our due diligence, but I think it may be that it's being questioned. That hits hard with the amount of work that we've done.
Because people
And
were
I'm going to tell you something too. But the other thing is, I'm going to be paying over $1,200. And to Tina's point, I have 3 children that are going to be going to college. It's definitely going to hurt. But you know what? I'm willing to make that sacrifice because someone used the word earlier too. I don't know who it was that was speaking, but Derby has become an embarrassment. I have a colleague who's in the financials, in municipal financial position. And he emails me many times about the things that he hears. And today he emailed me and said, looks like you guys made a really great decision hiring that gentleman. And he's right. We did make a good decision doing that. Unfortunately, the decision we're making with this budget, it's definitely going to hurt everyone's pocketbook. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. But I believe it's going to set us on the right path going forward, and we're not going to be embarrassment. It doesn't matter how many apartments we have downtown. We're never going to take this burden off the taxpayers if we don't get businesses in here. No businesses are going to want to come in if we get taken over by the state. They're not going to want anything to do with Derby. And then where are we? So I just wanted to make those that it's we had the hearing last week. I think 2 people spoke, and they were both in favor, and we appreciated that. And then to get to now, we're about to vote on this budget and move forward, and there's it's coming up that people are questioning on Facebook. Well, they can come down to town hall when we're having the meetings in question. And again, we may not even be on the board in the next round of elections because people may be so upset with us that we may not even get voted in. But I believe we are doing the right thing by increasing this budget the way we are. I think I'm going to end there. I'm sorry if I took too much time.
I have a question.
Thank you very much. I'm just gonna.
So, Mike, I hear you loud and clear. I'm the one that came in here when we first got this budget and 4.6, and I was like, absolutely not. This is ridiculous. There is no way my family can handle this. And literally, that's why I spent hours like, where can we cut this? Because there is no way. Then when the numbers came out and what it can be, and I went through and I saw, and I'll be honest, realistically, it's going to be $64 more a month for my family. That still stinks. It's, I'm paying groceries for another kid who lives out of state, plus here, but realistically, to try to get us back on track, $64, I'm just gonna have to tighten my budget at home a little bit, because honestly, I swear to all you people, and I said it on Facebook, because people coming at me, don't come at me. I'm here defending you. I did not want to. I spent nights not sleeping, seeing who can I cut from? Where can I take? But every time I looked, it was 1,000 here. I was never going to get to 800,000 no matter what I did. And trust me, I tried. I really honestly tried, because I don't want my taxes going up. I came in here with every mill rate for every town and city in Connecticut for the last 4 years to say, nice job, Derby, here we are. One of the highest. We should be proud of ourselves. But when I realistically looked at it and then got a little bit more of an education on, because I'm from Fairfield originally. I've now lived here 23 years, but I was paying less taxes on my mother's house in Fairfield that I just sold 2 years ago. But then when I looked and did mill rates and figured out how and why and rates, it makes sense to me now. So yeah, bottom line, in Fairfield, their mill rates lower. They're still paying more than us. Maybe not. My mother's house is a tiny little house. So compared to my house in Derby. So I get it now. Like I looked at it and I took my sister's house and I was like, let's see. Oh, I don't even want to begin to say what her taxes are. in Fairfield. So I did, and I really did want to cut this somewhere because I didn't think we could take the hit either, but going through this, there's really nowhere we can.
And it's unfortunate too that we even have to use the ARPA funds because again, I don't know who the gentleman was that was speaking, but that's money that we could have used for capital items that we sorely need as well. But again, we've used grants for education. And it goes back to what are some of the concessions on the education side for the 4 years prior that I've been on this, it's been 0 or I think it's like 0.7% increase that they got last year. They were using grants to pay their bills. Grants are above and beyond their specific use money in the town in the first place. So I think another part of the crossroads we're in is the budgeting just was not done properly. We were not putting money where it really needed to be. And when you have, what was it, 9.5% inflation last year, and our taxes didn't go up, that doesn't make sense. So I'm hoping that, yes, this is going to be a really tough hit to everyone. And I know there are probably some people in town that are really going to struggle with this, and you know, there's no easy way to get around it, but I think it's going to set us on a path forward, and for lack of better terms, keep us from kicking the can down the road. Let's do the reset here. Let's get Derby back on solid financial ground so we can start to prosper and start to draw in businesses and start to draw in families.
Thank you very much.
Hi, Mike. I just had a question for you. You were saying that over the years, like the past years, none of the numbers were real. What does that mean? Like, were they just making up numbers?
Mhm.
I'm not saying they're making up numbers. That's not what I'm saying. I apologize if that's the understanding that you had, but
Mike, you're
I
coming
don't
in.
believe that we were given the information we needed to create a budget. Yes?
Oh, okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, you're better now.
Can you hear me?
Yes,
Oh, okay, so
Okay.
basically the.
You got me?
Okay,
yes.
yeah.
So yeah, I'm not saying that the numbers weren't real. What I'm saying is we had no idea where the numbers were coming from. We had no idea. And I will tell you this, at the beginning of last year's budget, I don't believe you were on yet, Isa. I think you came on in the middle of the process, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
At the beginning of the budget process, it was, this is the mayor's budget. This is the number we're going with. We're not changing this number. Okay, so then what are we here for? What did I get voted in for from our constituents? Just to pass things along? I think we did our due diligence trying to go through this budget. And I think Brian has done, again, people are giving him accolades, and I think it's because of the work he's done to provide us the information we need to make a well-educated decision on this budget. And again, I feel like I'm saying the same thing over and over
No,
again,
I got
and
you,
everybody's
Mike.
saying it. This is a huge hit. I don't think anyone disputes that. But there's no other direction to go in. Unless we want to be taken over by the state, this is the only direction we have.
So wait, when you say taking over by the state, like what's the process when the state comes in? Does anybody know? Somebody just give me,
So,
what's the process when you get taken over
so
by the
right
state?
now, we meet with MFAC. I think it's every 3 months, Brian, I believe.
Brian?
Yeah, every other month, we're required to meet that. Review our financial.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, Brian's
Right,
talking
so-
now, Mike.
So right now, they're just overseeing the processes. They're making sure we're okay.
Right, so in fact, every other month, we're required, if we're tier one, to present our financials, to discuss the audit, discuss our budgeting, and and review that with them. They can make recommendations. If they were not satisfied with our effort, with transparency, with some of the issues that they complained about in the past,
Mhm.
then you can go to the more, which is kind of the next level, where essentially then more of the state officials will come in and dictate what you have to do as a city in order to turn around your financial situation.
Do they also do audits? Like when it gets to that, do they then send people in to audit everything? And then then the second level comes in?
No, I don't think they're coming in to do an audit first, they would just, because it's a different group.
Yeah.
Professional.
Well, this was- I think these questions to both of you. Okay, also one last thing. When you were doing, and again, you did an amazing job, so this is just a question because I'm new. When you were going over the budget and you found out that there were, errors from the last administration to the whoever else was involved, right? Did you have some type of audit done, or or was it just you to go through the work? Did you, other than us, I'm just saying, did you ever think that maybe we should have an audit done to make sure that the numbers, because we keep on saying these numbers are not real, or they might be real, so now I'm kind of a little about, not saying that you're not doing a great job, but now I need to know what's real.
Right, well, the numbers and the actuals are what's coming into the system, right? Based on all the checks we write out and all the expenses. So when it came in, we looked at where you're at with expenses, whether that's halfway through the year, 3/4 of the year. And you can start to extrapolate out, all right, well, I'm at 5 million in benefits halfway through the year, right? I'm gonna be maybe at 9 million. And then you look at prior year actuals to see how we finished prior year, and you come up with what you think the estimate's gonna be for the full year. And I think there's no, an auditor would come in and look at the same information. It's what's in our system. It's backed up by checks and, and invoices and everything else, which you have to review in order to kind of understand where you think you're gonna land the year. You have to look, halfway through the year, you might be able to just double it, right? But there might be a lot of things that are seasonal in nature, and they only happen maybe once a year, and so then you can't. So you do have to understand and dig through all of the details and understand what that looks like and what to project out. But once you did that pretty quickly, you can understand that here's the bill for the sanitation each month, here's what's budgeted for the month, and it's way different, right? And then you say, okay, well, yeah, this is the problem, our contract changed, and we're gonna need a lot more money than what we budgeted to get there. Similar with benefits, right? Here's how much our benefits are costing each month. Here's what we budgeted. This is where it's going to be. And look, those were the two biggest items that were the problems versus the budget that was established for 23-24. Okay. And what I can say is you've got the history of an audit in, ending 22, where we were 1.9 million upside down. This year's audit for the 22-23 year will be at least over 1 million, 1 million, 1.1, somewhere in that range upside down. And where you've just got less revenues than expenses. We would have been on track for $2.5 million this year, upside down. Had we not taken actions on our call, we're tracking. So, I think the information's there. You've seen it. My office is open. Jen's come in and it's for lots of backup. You've asked for some backup. I'm happy to provide information out of our ledgers, out of our department.
I'm just thinking that, I know this budget is not due for another 2 weeks, right? So because, and I know that we worked on this, and I know that we've given the public, the chance to come. But what I'm hearing, right, that they don't know, I just knew about the Facebook, thing just, from a couple of days ago. So I wasn't really privy to that, but I had my own issues going on. So do we have to do this today? Can't we give it another week? To maybe you know, what I would like to do is call some of the people who have called me and, you know, and give them another chance to show up. And if they don't show up, then it is what it is, or because it's due in 2 weeks. It's not today. Like, if we don't do it today, the state's not gonna come in, right? Nothing's gonna happen today. So I just want to give, because I got voted in, I just want to give everybody the opportunity, the people who are not on Facebook, who don't do Zoom, who are, you know, maybe they're older, maybe they're disconnected, just to get a little more time. That's what,
So-
you know, that's what I was thinking.
My only question would be, and again, I'm speaking for myself. I don't know what the others on the board are thinking. My question would be, what's going to change for the budget? I just don't see where we would make any changes to the budget where it's set right now.
Yeah, and I think, Mike, you hit it on the head. I mean, we have reviewed the budget over and over, you know, members of the board have looked at the numbers, you know, repeatedly. You know, all of us have effectively tried to look within each department line item to see where, you know, possible cuts could be made. Keep in mind that, you know, these departments have taken, you know, effectively flatline budgets, you know, over the course of the majority of the last several years. So they've already been looking at, you know, slim, you know, budgets year after year after year. So to have put in all the time and effort, and look, we're all volunteering. And we were elected by the residents of this city. I understand that, which is why we gave opportunity, you know, effectively on the 9th, definitely tonight, in order to come forward to provide us with any specific information that anybody would have in any department. Maybe something we didn't see. No one came forward. We can't, you know, I agree with what Tina said, what you have said. You know, I've spoken to Jen, I've met with Jen, you know, on several occasions just to go through the line items, you know, and, you know, I personally, and I'm speaking for me, I don't see what additional time is going to get us. Because I don't see anywhere that I could effectively look and feel comfortable with cutting. And more importantly, you know, as you said to me, when I look at the horizon, when I look at the changes that are being instituted, when I look at having a plan to move forward where MIFAC is actually looking at the city of Derby in a higher light, better than they have definitely over the last year, if not a little bit more so. We have a plan in place. We have a budget in place. We have real numbers. We have transparency. We have questions that are answered, you know, as soon as we ask them. You know, personally for me, I feel comfortable with moving forward. But, you know, I would effectively say that's why we were elected to this team, is to operate in democratic fashion and to put it out there. So certainly, you know, if people do not feel that way, then there is, you know, an avenue for us to go down.
Something we should go down.
Yeah, I would. Okay.
I do. I'm new to this board and I have to be honest, it's been difficult. Trying to understand the previous administration and what we have and going over this, you know, we've had a lot of meetings and Brian's done a great job. And I do see where Isa is coming from. It's, you know, a lot of my neighbors, people in the community that I'm around, literally the taxes are going up and they're upset. And it's not their fault. You know, it's part of this process and it's going over these numbers, going over everything line item by line item, and you know, having the department heads here and seeing it and being a part of this process. I'm very proud to be on this board, and I'm, you know, I thank everybody for their opinions. I think it's not easy for anybody. You know, I think a lot of people are going to be upset, and I think we've been elected, we've been in this, put in this position to vote on things. And being new to this board, it's been, you know, you have to, like Tina said, you have to go, you know, line by line and see what needs to be cut. And I think maybe I don't have, maybe just speaking from my own experience, maybe I don't have enough experience to say where things should or could be cut. And so that's where I kind of agree with Issa a little bit of maybe I could understand more being new to the board, you know, looking these things over again. You know, I know we've gone over the budget. We had the meeting last week, so I do understand where Issa's coming from.
You guys, I'm new to the board too. I've looked them over. I got in same time you guys did, November. I mean, 2 more weeks to look it over. I mean, I've had 5 nights of no sleeping looking this over. So I mean,
Yeah,
myself, I'm done looking at it.
okay, so,
And I would just ask, what do we think would change?
well, this is what I want to do, right? I want to not, well, I'm not going to vote on this today, right? So I want 1 more week to reach out to the people who reached out to me to get them, so we can't have another meeting.
Where are they? Why aren't they
I don't-
tonight? Where were they last week?
I-
If they reached out.
I
That's what I
don't,
said on Facebook. Everybody coming at me on Facebook. I'm like, you guys had a chance. People are saying to me, well,
That's
even if
absolutely
it showed up,
ridiculous.
it
2 weeks
wasn't
isn't
gonna
gonna
make a
make a
difference.
change.
Nobody knows
But
because
that's-
500 people didn't show up and complain.
okay, yeah, but the thing is, right, we do know this information now. We don't know
What,
why they
what
did it.
information?
Well, the information that we know is that.
We've
people
known
are-
the
information
for weeks. We've known the information for weeks.
There's
none of
not
it
any information.
Okay, wait. If we could just respectfully, one person at a time, I respect everybody. I want to hear from everybody, but we can't hear when everybody's talking. Tina, go ahead. Are you done?
Okay, so I just wanted to just say to Tina, I understand that you looked at it and you can't look at it anymore. But we are individuals and I need, because last week they just started calling. And I said the same thing that you said. Why didn't they show up? However, I have an obligation, right? To see why they didn't come and see if maybe they can come the next meeting. I mean, if it does not have to be done today, why are we rushing? Is it a reason why we have to do it today? Because if somebody could tell me we have to do it today, then I'm gonna weigh my options, right? Because we did work hard and we did collaborate. But if it doesn't have to be done today, it doesn't matter why the people didn't show up. They didn't show up. Let's give them another opportunity to show up. They don't show up, then that's that. And then let's give this budget a look over. And the thing is, I'm not from Derby. I love the town. My last name is Derby. Love it. However, I don't know all about the town. And it's things that I had questions about, like that grant writer. I don't think we need her, right? That's $20,000 you could cut. And the cables, right, that the city says we have to take down right now. Well, we don't have the money. That's another 20,000, right? There. I know it's not going to get us to where we are, but I just want to get the opportunity. Just 1 more week, I'm asking, to meet with some of the people who have ties to the community, knows how the community runs, and then maybe can give us some collaboration. Other than that, I have to say I can't vote right now.
But they're not. They're keyboard warriors. They're all sitting on Facebook complaining. You hear everybody saying they're on Facebook complaining. Not one of them is here, and that's what I
No, they're
said to
my
them.
neighbors.
Wait, yeah, I think Jose was
Guys,
trying to.
yeah, listen, if these people who is it, I was just saying that have these opinions, if they really wanted to be heard, they would have been here today. They would have streamed on already. Like, what are we really getting away for? You know?
Yeah, I think
Like,
at this point, I'm going to move forward with item number 7, adoption of the expense budget. I would ask for a motion on the floor to move forward with the 2024-2025 expense budget as presented on the April 3rd date. Is there a motion on the floor?
This is Kristen. This is Kristen. I make a motion.
Hi, Kristen. Did you, I'm
make the
sorry.
motion.
Okay, there's a motion that's been made by Kristen. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Jose seconds.
Jose?
Yes.
Thank you. There's a motion by Kristen. There's a second by Jose. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed?
Aye.
Opposed. Okay. Yeah, that might be,
She's opposed.
okay.
Yes. Yes. Jermaine Izzo,
Yes.
Mr. Gray,
Yes.
Ms. Mancini, right?
Yes.
Charlie Silka,
Yes.
Mr. Rivera,
Yes.
Ms. Simmons Derby,
Nay.
Simon,
I'm decisive. I don't, do I have to vote? Yes or no?
you have to, you can't.
I'm gonna say opposed for now. I'm gonna say opposed for now. Abstain, I'm gonna abstain.
And Ms. Wagner,
Yes.
yes, is there? Yes, is there 7, one abstain, and 1 no.
Okay, motion carries. Moving on to line item number 8, adoption of the 2024-2025 revenue budget. Is there a motion on the floor?
My motion, Jennifer.
There's a motion on the floor by Jennifer. Is there a second?
I'll second
Second,
Kristen.
Mike.
Okay, seconded by Kristen. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Aye.
Why don't
Aye.
we just do another? I'm sorry, this was my bad. Louise, can you do a road call? Thank you.
Mr. Rose,
Yes.
Ms. Izzo,
Yes.
Mr. Gray,
Yes.
Ms. Mancini, right?
Yes.
Ms. Pirelli Silka,
Yes.
Mr. Rivera,
Yes.
Ms. Simmons Derby,
Abstain. Is that the word? Is it, yeah.
Simon,
Abstain.
Ms. Wagner,
Yes.
Ms.
Yes.
Wagner. 7, I'm sorry.
Yes. Okay, motion carries. Item number 9, adoption of the 2024-2025 mill rate, which would be set at 4.6. Is there a motion on the floor?
Mike, can I make a motion?
I'm sorry. Yes,
Mike? Can you hear me?
I'm sorry. No, go. Mike, did you make a motion?
I did.
Okay, motion made by Mike. Is there a second?
I'll second it, Jennifer.
Any discussion? All in, can you do yours? Thank you.
Mr. Roche,
Yes.
Ms. Izzo,
Yes.
Mr. Gray,
Yes.
Ms. Mancini, right?
Yes.
Ms. Pirelli Silka,
Yes.
Mr. Rivera,
Yes.
Simons, Simmons Derby, sorry,
Abstain.
Ms. Simon,
Abstain.
Ms. Wagner,
Yes.
Yes, sure.
Okay, motion carries. I want to thank everybody for their work. I know it was the most difficult task. At this point, we are at, item 10, adjournment. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Laura, I motion.
Okay, motion was made by Laura. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, seconded by Isa. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you so much. Enjoy your night.
Thank you. Thank you.
Meeting adjourned at 7:37.
Brian, thank you so much for all your help.
Yes, thank you.
We couldn't have done it without you.
But I don't know if I see better.
That table, if you don't take it down, UI will take it down and charge us. And they're the ones that are saying it's gotta come down.
That's the thing.
They brought that up.
Yeah. But I understand.
Trying to get money. So she is very helpful.
Oh,
And they just weren't using what I said.
No, they wouldn't. We were.
Honestly, when I tell you, I
My
went
thing
through,
is-
because I wanted to cut this budget to shreds. I really did.
So messed up last time. I'm like, not front, I don't know what's.
We get an office every year.
Okay.
We have a sticker on it every year. Every year.
A lot of it. Cause it's.
Yes.
So it's just like,
No, I get
when I get it, it is.
Hey, congratulations.
No, it's not easy.
Huh? Oh.
It's not easy.
I know,